Hello and welcome to this edition of News Desk with me, Bernice Abubedulansa. Today we start off by putting the spotlight on the deplorable state of the first aid and emergency posts along the Accra-Tema motorway. And this is in the wake of rampant road crashes, with the latest claiming 6 lives on the Accra-Cape Coast Highway. And residents of Gomoa Okyereko appeal for IGP's intervention as scores of Landguards opened fire on farmers and on them in the central region. We are live in the community for the latest, and 9 million SIM cards deactivated this morning as deadline for re-registration of SIM cards with the Ghana card ends. We have details as hundreds mass up at the National Identification Authority in a desperate effort to get their Ghana cards. We've got details of these and more. The Supreme Court also dismisses case against regulation of plant breeders. Do stay with us for more. Thanks for your company. Now, just this Monday, 6 precious lives were lost on the Cape Coast Accra Highway following a head-on collision between a bus and a fuel tanker. A provisional crash statistic from the National Road Safety Authority revealed that between January to December 2022, a total of 2,373 persons died, resulting from over 14,959 crashes across the country. But the authority launched an ambitious plan in 2019 to establish 100 emergency response and first aid posts along major highways to address post-crash victim needs. In less than 3 years, what is the state of these crucial facilities? My colleague Carlos Caloni tells the disturbing story of the deplorable state of one cited on the Accra-Tema motorway.
Now, according to statistics from the Ghana Road Safety Authority, many of Ghana's roads have become death trap, including the Accra-Tema motorway. Now, one of the measures put in place to ensure that fatalities are reduced in the country is the erection of emergency response centers along major roads in the country. One of those emergency response centers is sited here at the Accra Tollboat area, as you can see here in your shot. It's supposed to protect the lives of victims of road crashes, specifically on the Accra-Tema motorway. Now, we would want to take a closer look at the structure. But before then, let's look at where the ambulance is supposed to be sitting. So this is where the ambulance is supposed to be sitting, waiting to respond to emergency situations that occur on the Accra-Tema motorway. But we are here, there is no ambulance. All we can see are stones and this chair. Now let's go into the emergency response facility itself to ascertain the state of the facility. If there's an emergency now, we expect that there should be paramedics here to protect and save lives. So we are trying to go inside, but as you can see, the place is locked. Now, beyond this, a closer look at the facility itself tells a different story. In your picture is the actual state of the interior of this emergency installation that is supposed to be saving the lives of road crash victims. Regrettably, these items, a suitcase, mattresses, some medical supplies, chairs, and tables have all been left at the mercy of the weather, especially with these shattered windows. The foundation is not just giving way. The ceilings too have joined the party, especially When no electricity nor running water is connected, sanitation around the facility itself could easily send accident victims to early graves. Clearly, it appears the emergency center rather needs an emergency rehabilitation. But whose responsibility is it to maintain smooth running of critical facilities like this? Does that public official draw monthly salary? Then he or she has questions to answer. How prepared are we as a nation in responding to emergencies on our roads? Reporting from the Emergency Response Center here on the Accra-Tema motorway, my name is Carlos Kaloni for JoyNews.
Now, scores of Landguards have invaded Gomoa Okyereko, firing live bullets and chasing farmers in that particular community with guns. They've also graded their lands and crops. They are believed to be doing this with the aim of selling these farmlands. Gomoa Okyereko is a farming community with a population of over 2,000 in the Gomoa East District of the Central Region. Some of the residents are accusing some opinion leaders and politicians from Ifutu for the disturbances. In an interview with JoyNews, they appealed to the IGP to intervene and avert further violence. JoyNews' Kofi J joins us live with more. Hello, Kofi. When exactly did this happen, and were any persons injured as a result?
Nobody has been injured for now. Well, the extract has been going on for the past 1 week now. The community leaders and opinion leaders were trying to use the law. They wanted to address their challenges through the Ghana police, because where they are conducting the exercise is even closer to the Gomoa Okyereko police station. They've made official complaints to the police, the Domlase, district police commander, and as well as the regional police command, which is the Central East Regional Police Command. For the past 1 week, no response. They haven't received any response, or they haven't got any help from these security agencies.
Can you paint a picture to us? What's the extent of damage? How many farmlands have been affected?
According to over 200 acres of farmland.
Right. And do we know from the side of the people who are being referred to as landguards what the land is being used for? Are they claiming legal ownership of the land?
They are claiming the whole land, the whole community. And sources close to the regional land community indicate that some group of people at that area that made some declaration for some people at Ifutu. So those people are claiming, it's not Okyereko community alone. They are claiming Okyereko community, Forte community, Gomoa dominant community, and as well as in Porta and all over.
And I'm asking these people who are being referred to as land guards by the residents, what have they also been saying about this?
They went to the area to stop them, and these people chased them with guns. So they left their farm, and some of them are being run to the prison, others are even travel to the nearest community.
Do we know who is behind this, or what the land is being cleared for?
According to the chief and the opinion leaders at Gomoa Okyereko, they are accusing some opinion leaders in Ifutu, but they didn't mention them because of they said they wanted to hide for now. But they said those people are behind these people, and they hide them from Accra, Kagua, and other communities. And they are having about over 50 cars to 70 cars with guns and excavators digging the land, just like that.
Kofi, we'll leave it here for now. That's Kofi J with sister station at JoyNews, giving us some more details into that particular incident. Also joining us is youth leader Clement Ochre. Clement, what more can you tell us about what is happening? What is the land being cleared for, and who is behind this? Do you know?
Thank you, Madam. Good afternoon or good morning to your viewers or listeners. I think it was about 6 months ago that we saw some signposts mounted from Okyereko Junction towards 14 and 8 enclave. And the written on the signpost was a Kutu magazine with car, park, daycare, market, and a lot of something that they are coming to do. So we informed Nananum and they command the youth in the community to go and pull them and send them to Okyereko police station. So after that, we didn't hear anything or nobody came to question what we have done. So about 2 weeks ago, that we saw some macho men with some sophisticated weapons and bulldozers started pushing our land. That is where we made a report to Okyereko police station, Dominancy police station, Millennium City. And even we wrote a petition to regional commander, but still nothing has been done about it. The most funny aspect is that Okyereko is situated in Gomoa East constituency. We don't even share boundary with Winneba or Efutu, but what we are hearing is that some prominent chiefs in Efutu and some politicians are behind what is going on. Our last check is that former chairman of former land commission in Temple, in connect with some prominent chief in Efutu that declared those portions for Efutu municipal. And it is not only Okyereko, it comprises Dominancy, Foxing, and those areas around Gomoa East land. That is what I hear about it.
Right. Okay. So, Clement, you have given us a history to all of this. But the farmers on the land, do they own these lands, or who gave them the lands to farm on?
They are committed. The farmers are committed in their communities. We are the landowners, Okyereko communities. We are the landowners, Okyereko committed. We are the landowners, so we are farming on the land.
Yes,
so
but are you legal custodians of the land? Does it legally belong to Okyereko?
Exactly. Okyereko was here before even Winneba came to settle at Winneba. And we don't share boundary with Efutu. The land belongs to Okyereko. And they are not doing this only to Okyereko. Touching Japanese dominancy, what we are hearing is that those chiefs are in connivance with the former chairman of regional land commission, and they have declared this portion of land. Why are they not claiming all the entire Gomoa land, but some portions around the road?
That's an allegation we can't really get a response to. So let's leave that for now. So what is the next step? You're appealing to the IGP, but what are your chiefs doing about this? You've spoken about your reports to the police station, which have yielded no results. Now you're appealing to the IGP. But beyond that, what are your opinion leaders and chiefs telling you about how they hope to solve the problem?
Yes, now it's like what you are saying. We are appealing to IGP and the opinion leaders to come into our aid. As we, the youth around the aforementioned named communities, we also write and tell them, because they don't want to listen to us, we will take the law into our hands and fight them. Because we cannot sit in our community and allow other community people to come and invade on our land, attacking our farmers and other stuff. We can wait and until something happened before our leaders came or intervened.
Right, but you know you can't take the law into your own hands. So
we can also sit down and allow them to override us.
Right. So your appeal to the IGP, have you written a formal letter, or you're just doing so via this medium?
As far as we have petitioned the regional police commander, I think IGP should have known it by now, because the regional commander knew everything about what is transpiring here. Right. And he's representing IGP in the region.
So, Clement, as we speak, are these people you refer to as Landguards, are they still on the land? Or?
They are still here. They are still here with their guns, group, every morning. Even after now we are speaking, there is a machine on the side pushing.
Okay. Well, we hope that via this medium, the IGP can hear your plea and get this matter looked into. Clement Okyereko is a youth leader at Gomoa Okyereko. We'll leave it here for now, but we will be monitoring events in that town and let you in on what exactly happens. Away from that, the Supreme Court has, in a unanimous decision, dismissed a case filed against the regulation of plant breeders. Parliament in 2020 passed the Plant Variety Protection Act to regulate breeders. The law makes a breeder bound to any measure taken by Ghana to regulate the production, certification, and marketing of material of a variety or the importation or exportation of the material. Food advocacy group Food Sovereignty Ghana dragged the Attorney General to the Supreme Court, contending these portions of the law are unconstitutional. The court, however, disagreed and dismissed the case. Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akablay joins me with more. Joseph, first, who is a breeder under the law, and what extent of control will government be exercising? For which reason Food Sovereignty took the matter to court?
So the law defines a breeder as a person who bred or discovered and developed a variety, the employer of the person or the successor of the person entitled, and it makes the breeder bound to any measure taken by Ghana to regulate the production, certification, and marketing of material of a variety, of the importation or exportation of the material. And so under this particular law, it requires that breeders apply for a plant breeder right in order to undertake the activity. As far as Food Sovereignty Ghana is concerned, they took the view that sections of the law are unconstitutional. So the first point they made against it is that it constitutes an unnecessary infringement on the farmer's right to save, use, exchange, and sell farm-safe seeds and propagating material, because they took the view that it means that should farmers be able to develop certain breed or variety of crops, they would have to obtain such certification before they can proceed to sell them. They also pointed out that it hinders their right to propagate material. The group indicated that this particular law arises from an international convention which Ghana has signed on to. And so they believe that once that's not been ratified, they cannot use the back door to pass such a law to attempt to enforce that particular convention. But unfortunately, Supreme Court did not agree with them. But lawyer for the Food Sovereignty Ghana, George Wayo, believes the court got it wrong.
Right, Joseph.
In respect of the Plant Variety Protection Act, we all remember the Plant Breeders Bill, which had some couple of years in the Parliament of Ghana, and finally it became an act, so the PVPA. We sought to understand that the PVPA is hinged on the tenets of the UPOF arrangement. And the UPOF arrangement is an arrangement by some international state parties or stakeholders. It's not a United Nations organization. It's countries that want to go on the path of plant breeders' rights or issues of varieties of plants and their emergence. However, there's nothing that says that UPOF arrangement is part of the laws of Ghana. It has not been rectified at the time we came to court. And it's very clear in Article 75 of the 1992 Constitution that if a law, a foreign law, international law, is to be part of the laws of Ghana, it must come to Parliament for a resolution or ratification. At the time we came to court, we have not seen any such resolution of Parliament or ratification of the UPOF Convention. But this Plant Variety Protection Act, Act 1020, if I'm right, is hinged on the UPOF organization. So it's more or less like we are bringing the UPOF regime to Ghana via an act of parliament. And so we thought that it's not right. That is what the main issue before the court. And there were a series of issues in the writ as well on human rights, on issues of draconian laws in respect of people who breach these laws, as in if you breach the act. For example, you'll be sentenced to 10 years if you are holding somebody's seedlings and all that. And we know that our peasant farmers are at risk because if you bring in new varieties of plants, and that is what they must plant, and you find somebody in Wale Wale or Sehubekwai in possession of such a seedling, that is the sanction the person will get. So there were a couple of issues in this act. But the government of our case, or our main case, is that this act is based on the UPOF. And UPOF is a convention. That convention has not been rectified by the Parliament of Ghana. So how can we be made to obey an act or operate an act which tenant or which focus is on a certain convention which is not part of the laws of Ghana? And the court says we have not invoked the court's jurisdiction. But we think that a matter of interpretation, i.e. if a convention, an international convention, an international law, any law out there which is not originally part of the laws of Ghana, if that law has to be part of the laws of Ghana, shouldn't it go under Article 75? And if that has not happened, it's not a matter of interpretation. And if it's a matter of interpretation, it's not the Supreme Court that a party or a citizen will come to for such interpretation. Yet they said their jurisdiction have not been invoked. We are yet to see the full reason, like the court said, the reasons for this ruling, unanimous ruling, will come out. And then we'll advise our clients and possibly seek a review, because we think that the UPOF arrangement is a convention. It is not part of Ghana's domestic law. And it is tried law. It's common law for everybody to know. A first-year law student who has done international law understands that domestic law and international law are different. And for international law to be received in the domestic law, that law must come under Article 75 of Ghana's constitution, of resolution of parliament or ratification. And as we speak today, the UPOF convention has not been rectified by our parliament. It has not. There's no resolution on the UPOF convention for Ghana to operate it under an act.
So that's a lawyer for Food Sovereignty Ghana. Let's now bring in Edward Karewa. He's General Secretary of the General Agric Workers Union. He joins us via phone. Great to have you, Mr. Karewa. Now, you just heard the lawyer speak about the implications of this law for peasant farmers. I just want to find out if the General Agric Workers Union has been following this issue, and do you share in his sentiments?
Well, let me say good morning to all of you. And I think that as a General Agricultural Workers Union, we have been part of this thinking that the law, the Plant Breeders Bill, its content and its intentions are not favorable to the Ghanaian farmer. It's not favorable to the Ghanaian cause of trying to be independent and then control its means of production. You know, in fact, we've seen the law as a form of subjugating the Ghanaian farmer and everybody under its control, under foreign control. You know, apart from the legalities, where the Supreme Court said that their jurisdiction was not properly invoked, and then the reasons are yet to come. Apart from that, you can just see that why should we have a law that will punish the ordinary peasant farmer just because he has shared some seed with somebody else, which is claimed to be a seed from either a multinational or somebody they call a breeder. You know, and the punishment for the violation of the law is also punitive. And I don't understand why matters of this nature, which are not hardcore criminal offenses, why should they receive such a severe punishment? And apart from that, if you look at this country, the peasant farmer population and their contribution to food production in this country is so huge. Up to 70% of domestic food production is by these peasant farmers. Now they can no longer share and distribute their seeds with other people because the seed has been patented by somebody else. And we all know some of this knowledge is an indigenous knowledge. It has been transferred to us from our ancestors, from our grandparents, and it's communal knowledge. Why should we now be made to, the communal knowledge is taken away from the community, and then it now becomes criminal. You know, this is another form of human rights abuse, because the farmers have the right, you know, to keep their knowledge. And just one day, someone from somewhere comes to say that, oh, this knowledge, I've patented it, therefore, they do not have access to that knowledge, they cannot use it, and when they use it, then it then becomes criminal. So it borders on human rights violation. It borders on constraining the ability of this country to be able to produce and feed themselves, and then also to feed the rest of the world.
Mr. Karewe, we just heard from lawyer of Food Sovereignty Ghana, which went to the Supreme Court over this case. They're waiting for the full decision, and they will advise themselves based on what they see in there. But what is the General Agric Workers Union also going to do, since you clearly agree with the sentiment of Food Sovereignty Ghana?
Well, once the Supreme Court has given a decision, and they are yet to give their reasons, whatever reasons they give, it means that that's the apex court, and their decision is final. I think you've heard the lawyer also say that, look, they may request for a review of the decision, and that is what we can do, because if it had been any other any other court, then we could be seeking an appeal at the highest court. But here is the case: the highest court has dismissed the case, and in fact, I am excited that they are not necessarily saying that, without prejudice to the reasons that they are giving, is that the court's jurisdiction is not properly invoked. What it means, this is a technical, argument, that even if you have a good case and you have not come to us, appear before us properly, then you will not even, we will not even, consider your view. So that's what it means for me.
So you're hopeful that if another court or a lower court sits on this case, you could have it in your favor. You could have a decision made in your favor. And I'm saying because you say you agree with Food Sovereignty Ghana's position on the matter.
Yeah, per the court structure in Ghana, no other lower court can sit on this case, because the structure is from lower court to higher court, and then the Supreme Court decision binds on every court in this country, which are lower than...
I appreciate that, but it's because of the jurisdiction issue that we've just brought here. That's why I'm saying a fresh case can be filed in relation to the plant breeders bill in a different court, right? Because the Supreme Court says that its jurisdiction was not invoked properly.
Well, I think the legal team will consider the possibility of that, and then one of the possibilities is to ask for a review of their own decision. The Supreme Court can review its own decision, and then say, look, where we have erred in our earlier decision. But as to whether or not, once it has gotten to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court has given a decision, same matter can be put before a lower court. I believe I will leave that one for the legal team to explore. And then, as I said, we are totally in support of food sovereignty. We think that the law in its present terms is not a good law for Ghana. It's not going to promote agricultural production. It is going to impoverish the already poor farmers, and it is going to take away their fundamental right, to own their own seed and then also share that seed with other people.
Thank you for your time this morning. Edward Karewe is General Secretary of the General Agric Workers Union there. Let's move on to some other stories now. The former Auditor General, Daniel Domelovo, has lashed out at President Akufo-Addo for taking unconstitutional decisions. This follows a Supreme Court ruling declaring the action of the President in asking him to proceed on leave prior to retirement as unconstitutional. Speaking on Upfront on the JoyNews channel, Mr. Domelovo said he is happy to have been vindicated by the court.
Vindicated when the decision came. If you remember, when I wrote to the office of the President to draw the attention to the unconstitutionality or the unlawfulness of the directive from the President, I was told it's because I'm not a lawyer, I don't appreciate the law. And I'm happy that those in whose mouths, in whose bosom recite the interpretation of the Constitution and the laws of the country have affirmed my position. So that makes me happy. But that is not my major cause of happiness. What makes me more happy is that from now onward, there are going to be several auditors general to come. There are going to be several presidents to come. There will not be a repeat of what happened in 2022. Any auditor general, or I believe even independent constitution office holders. That is my happiness. What was very disturbing is the fact that we were not only at the Supreme Court with the senior minister of Crow and Associates, but then I had been directed by the Supreme Court to go and look at the evidence of work done by Crow and Associates. And I was given 10 days. 5 days into that, the president said, go away, and then he appoints someone who within 24 hours confirmed that work done was satisfactory. I don't know what methodology he used. I don't want to fault him for that, but it did not sit well with me because, well, it was not my property, it is Ghana's property, but if you handled my property like that, I will not be happy. The long and short of it is that, well, today we are at a point where we know who is wrong and who is not.
Oh, Mr. Domelevo also said on that show there was an orchestrated plan to frustrate him from all angles by the board chairman of the audit service, Professor Edward Duajiman. He described the attack and several others as corruption fighting him throughout his stay in office on a daily basis.
Corruption was fighting me heavily. I could see corruption fighting me everywhere. Do you remember the type of audits that were commissioned and investigations commissioned? Do you remember that even Yoko was asked to interrogate procurement process that I was not part of? And even that case, the High Court ruled to say that the behavior of Yoko was unlawful, it was arbitrary, they used very unpleasant words about Yoko. It is all attempt to get me into trouble. After that, the board chairman went and engaged his friend to come and audit me, a private audit firm. I don't know what procurement method he used to come and audit me, and which was also a violation of the Constitution because the Constitution clearly said it's Parliament which will appoint auditors to audit the audit service. But then the board chairman went ahead and did all these things. So I saw corruption fighting me left and right. And the champion that they were using was the board chairman, Professor Duajiman. He was the one holding the PS and the guns and the bullets and shooting left, right, left and center. Thank God he has not been successful.
Now, speaking on the same show, Director for Advocacy and Policy Engagement at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante said even though the ruling may have been late in coming, it serves to restrain the executive from further abusing its powers.
Wrong and violation of the Constitution that was going on will be corrected and that he could stay in office, particularly given his own track record, the kinds of innovations and steps that he was taking to ensure accountability. So we wanted the matter dealt with and to restrain the president from constructively dismissing him. But that didn't happen, and then he was, pushed out of office. But we made the point that the Supreme Court needed to have a pronouncement of this case because the interpretation of the president in terms of his powers, administrative powers under the Constitution, was far-reaching if it did not have any commentary from the Supreme Court, if there was no clarification of interpretation of that particular provision of the Constitution. So this is very, very important because it's not just about the Auditor General. It's about all the independent governance institutions that are set up under the Constitution and the extent to which, the president have administrative powers over the heads of those kinds of institutions. That is what this ruling is addressing. And that's why, even though it didn't come early to protect Mr. Domelevo, it should protect others in the future.
Away from that verdict by the Supreme Court on Mr. Domelevo's forced leave, 2 food vendors have been arrested for disposing food waste into the Korle Lagoon at Accra Circle. Both persons have made a wooden shaft close to the lagoon, creating a unique setup where they prepare food under poor sanitary conditions. Speaking to JoyNews, the head of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly sanitation team, Florence Kuchi, indicated the team will not relent at keeping Accra clean. My colleague Priso Wunsuasa was with them, and here's his report.
It's been exactly a week since the Accra Metropolitan Assembly sanitation team visited the Kwame Nkrumah overpass to drive homeless street dwellers away.
When
the AMA officials left, some of these persons returned. Despite the noisy environment, with the city bustling and hustling with car honks, some home street dwellers lie peacefully in poor sanitary conditions. Nestled on the hard ground, they have fashioned a makeshift bed out of the pavement bricks and started clothes. A homeless shoemaker pleaded for mercy after the AMA sanitation team threw away his tools. Some homeless street dwellers have also made wooden shafts on the edge of the Korle Lagoon at Accra. These makeshift shelters serve as cooking spaces situated in close proximity to a public washroom, preparing and selling food to the public in those unsanitary conditions.
All the dust is going inside. You can't cover it. Huh? Is this normal?
The AMA sanitation team says they would not cease their efforts to keep Accra clean. Florence Kuchi is the head of the sanitation team.
Identify a problem here. You've seen that we have picked 2 people from here. This is not a place under normal circumstances to even think of sitting to cook food for public consumption. You sit here, you prepare the food here, you send the food out and garnish it for people to buy. When it is raining, you just roll out your waste and put it inside the drain, which is not the best. So we are not going to allow them. We've given them a notice to move from here, but we have picked them. The end will justify what will happen.
She also emphasized the need for governments to provide rehabilitation centers for homeless individuals on the street.
When we send them to court and they remand them, how long would they live there? Because they need a rehabilitation center. If we have a national or a state rehabilitation center, we will be able to send these people in there. They will be rehabilitated and then go back to their homes and become useful people for their people.
This, she says, will bring a lasting solution to the issue of homelessness in the capital. A report by Prince Uswansa, read to you.
Let's go to the Ashanti region now, where a chain of mechanic shops were ravaged by fire last night. At least 6 vehicles, several engines and upholstery materials were destroyed. My colleague Ohiming Teria, who was at the scene, reports shop owners have started counting their losses.
It is not clear what started the fire. A JoyNews team returning from a trip to Obuasi stopped over and called the fire service hotline. Shop owners hailed the swift response from personnel of the fire service. The intervention was boosted by a downpour. Divisional Officer Grade 2, Nicholas Opoku-Akins, is the Ashanti Regional Operations Officer of the fire service. He says the rains affected the work of the fire service positively.
Magic was that because around that time there wasn't much traffic along the line, and because of that they were able to get here at an appropriate time. And we've assessed the devastation over here. You could see that now the place is dark, so we can't come out with the actual cause of the fire right now. So tomorrow early in the morning, the crew that were on duty will come, assess everything, and look at the possible or probable causes of the fire. Generally, when it rains, it reduces the extent of fire spread, because anytime the rain water fall on the fire, it evaporates and the atmosphere becomes very humid, and humid atmosphere also does not support combustion. So definitely the humid atmosphere will reduce the spread of fire.
Meanwhile, the mechanics have started counting their losses. Richard Apiakubi is one of the affected fire victims. He's the local chairman of the artisans in the area.
Among the
bench items are all types of vehicle engines. These engines are cars of different make that belong to us and our customers. Some are also spare parts and vehicles that have been bent beyond repairs. Those vehicles we lost to the fire are the latest model of Honda SUV, Toyota Corolla, Nissan pickup, Yaris, and many others.
Nissan pickup, Yaris, Ninano, baby, associate amount for Edian.
From Kumasi, for JoyNews, JoyNews report.
And here in our studios are Kokomlemle and Bernice Abubeidu Lansa. Up next is the business news. Please stay tuned.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The National Insurance Commission is encouraging informal sector businesses to take advantage of enhanced insurance policies to increase their participation and benefit. The informal sector employs about 80% of the country's workforce. Ashanti Regional Manager of the NIC, Farouk Dramani, believes increased enrollment in insurance policies will help keep the informal sector businesses afloat. He spoke at the launch of Prudential Life Insurance policy cover for informal sector players in celebration of the company's 175th anniversary. Love FM's Nanabuachi Yadom has more in the following report.
Insurance penetration in Ghana remains low despite enhanced drive. Apathy is high among players in the informal sector, though they constitute a high percentage of the country's labor force. Some businesses have suffered due to failure to insure against accidents. The Ashanti Regional Manager of the National Insurance Commission, Farouk Dramani, is calling for attitudinal change among the informal sector players.
The Commission is very much in support of what we call micro insurance, because today in Ghana, the working force, 80% of the working force of Ghana are in the informal sector, and that is why micro insurance is very important, so that the informal sector is roped into the insurance sector, so that they also have insurance policies to take care of their needs.
He spoke at the launch of the Prudential Life's Mekakrawa insurance policy, which is set to include unbanked, wholesale and middle income earners of all classes. The policy is geared towards ensuring financial inclusivity among Ghanaians, particularly from the informal sector. According to the CEO of Prudential Life Insurance Ghana, Dr. Hazel Barat, the Mekakrawa insurance policy is to support every Ghanaian to make the best out of life no matter how much one earns.
So you can be paying 3 cents or 45 cents every month to have cover and protection against 4 critical illnesses. Right? So that's how we've evolved this product to do good on Ghana market in terms of how we listen to people, understand them and deliver on helping them achieve the best in life. So that's our purpose in Prudential Life. What are the conditions? We have stroke, we have kidney disease, liver disease, and cancer.
Kejetia Market in Tomahima, Nana Yabwedu, encouraged the informal sector to take advantage of the opportunity.
Not long ago, a part of the market got burned. We know if these policies were in existence, it would have helped some of our people. I am encouraging all our traders to get involved.
JoyNews, Nana Boachi Dankwayadom, reporting.
Internal auditing must be seen as a critical tool to help Ghanaian businesses grow beyond their owners to become African giants. That's assertion by partner and head of advisory at KPMG Ghana, Andy Akoto. According to him, the challenges of many businesses in Ghana can be linked to the absence of good controls through internal auditing in the operations. Mr. Akoto was speaking to Joy Business after a panel discussion to climax the Internal Audit Awareness Month.
The Internal Audit Awareness Month is dedicated to celebrate internal auditors and their impact on business growth. Under the theme, Revitalizing the Role of Internal Audit for Sustainable Growth, the panel delved into mechanisms to make enterprises survive the current disruptions in the economy and the important role of the internal auditors. KPMG and the Institute of Internal Auditors are organizing this for the second time. Head of Advisory and Partner at KPMG, Andy Akoto, believes that having good internal control systems can prevent businesses from collapsing in the early stages.
Naturally, internal audit must be seen as a strategic partner to build multi-generational businesses in the context of Ghanaian enterprises, because what we find very brilliant enterprising entrepreneurs giving birth to businesses, but once they are no more, for whatever reason, those businesses fail to thrive after them. Internal audit can help deal with this kind of situation because it will examine all matters of governance, sustainability, succession planning, talent acquisition, and bring an objective and independent view to how to continue to enhance the business, add effective controls, and ensure that everyone is accountable for the reason why they are part of the enterprise.
Speaking on the same topic, Deputy Managing Director at GCB Bank, Emmanuel Odate Lamte, stressed the need for internal auditors to identify risk around business and act timely.
There are a number of areas which I'll say internal audit is critical to driving sustainable business. Typically, you do find in many institutions traditional risk areas like market risk, credit risk, operational risks tend to get a lot of focus. But strategic risks around the long-term sustainability of the business or existence of the business tends to be pushed back. And this is where I think that internal audit with their expertise are able to connect the dots across many aspects of the bank and then challenge management, lead with questions on matters relating to strategic risk.
The event was climaxed with awards for some deserving staff and a cake cutting ceremony.
And that's it for business. The news returns after this break.
Thank you for staying here on News Desk. Now, if you haven't been able to make or receive calls, send text messages or execute financial transactions this morning, it's most likely you are one of the 9 million subscribers whose SIM cards have been deactivated by the NCA for failure to re-register with your Ghana card. According to the Chamber of Telecommunications, this figure includes SIM cards that have only gone through all the required stages of the registration process and those that have not been linked to the Ghana card at all. CEO of the Chamber, Dr. Kenashibe, has assured that network operators will safeguard the funds on SIM cards. The Minister for Communications, Esther Owusu-Ekuful, announced the start of the re-registration process for all mobile SIM cards on October 1, 2021. Initially expected to last for 6 months, the exercise faced challenges that led to multiple extensions. Meanwhile, hundreds massed up at the National Identification Authority in a desperate effort to get their Ghana cards, the key document required to complete the re-registration of SIM cards. Some of them say despite going through the registration process, they've still not been able to access their cards. The National Identification Authority says it's working to ensure that all eligible applicants get their cards. The authority has also assured that complaints about double payment for cards will be investigated. That'll be it for this edition of News Desk with me, Bernice Abube-Dolansa. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. We're also very interactive on social media. We are Joy News on TV on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Do stay with us. We are your most credible news source. Take care.